Good afternoon, Patriots. And welcome to another edition of Occam's Razor. As always, I'm your host, RP. And joining me live in the studio is my good friend and co-host, M3. Hope everyone's having a nice day. Thank you to all the mods. I see Craig Sawyer, Red Pills Warhawk, Wheezy Girl, Leslie Burgett. I'm sure JoJo K is here, as well as Real Red Pill Mom and maybe Real Red Pill Girlfriend. She might have a meeting. Hog, what's up, brother? Well, guys, we're going to be talking today about a number of things. But I titled the show Shake Shack Surprise because something disturbing happened in New York, Manhattan. And it is representative of the larger cultural narrative that is being spun right now. And I think it's really important that we talk about that. Among other things, don't worry. Do me a favor, please don't forget to hit that like button. Share this broadcast on your favorite social media platform. Email it to your grandmother or your grandchildren. Carrie Lee Jolly Tremble, welcome to your first live stream on the Red Pill 78 channel. Occam's Razor. Cynthia, we see you. All right, gang. Please, everyone, do sit back, relax, grab your popcorn, and we'll be right back after a brief word from our sponsor. You know, a lot of folks have lost hope recently. There's a lot of despair going around, more than a few sleepless nights, and with the stock market returning minus 10% since the start of the year, for a lot of people it's looking dismal, but it doesn't have to be. Crazy as it sounds, gold has actually gained ground by around 15%. That's a 25% more bang for your buck. It's probably something you've never considered before, like the way you've never considered Zoom calls or wearing a mask in public. Now all these things seem kinda normal, don't they? So should you be investing in precious metals? Gold, silver, palladium, and platinum have proven to be safe haven investments. It's the only investment with appreciating value during an economic collapse. If you're interested in securing your wealth, call Noble Gold Investment today at 877-646-5347. That's 877-646-5347. or visit the website at noblegoldinvestments.com. Once again, that's noblegoldinvestments.com. And remember, when you support my sponsors, you support this channel. All right, everyone, thank you for sticking around. First of all, today I need to say thank you to Noble Gold for being a sponsor of the show. They have stuck by me through thick and thin. It is so important that if you guys support this show, consider supporting the sponsors as well. Also, if you guys want to support the channel directly, there are means to do so in the links below in the description. My mods will be sharing it throughout the broadcast, and as well, Methods support link is down there as well. So, appreciate you guys being here. Thank you for showing up. Methods, how are you today, buddy?
Man, I'm doing good. Just been busy.
Yeah.
Working on a bunch of stuff, getting ready for the future and what we're all going to be working on. But man, I'm doing good. How are you doing today? What's up, chat?
Yep. And Mimi of 8, it is live chat on my screen, but you guys in the chat, make sure that you switch on live chat so that you get all of the chats. And don't forget that slow mode is on. If you try to chat and it doesn't let you send it, no one is censoring you. It just is what it is. Oh, man. So let's talk about this Shake Shack surprise methods, because this really got my goat. Really upset me. And then once we talked about it, I was even more upset. So we had 3 NYPD officers in Manhattan. They went to a restaurant called Shake Shack. Now, Shake Shack has been spoken about here on the channel before because they are one of those multi-million-dollar businesses who took advantage of the Paycheck Protection Program. They were given loans, a multi-million-dollar loan, so that they could pay their employees. I believe that they ended up having to pay it back because they didn't need to take out that paycheck protection loan. They just did it because they could. And because of them, small businesses like myself, who was gearing up to hire people and then was unable to as a result of lost revenue from this whole terrible thing, and other small businesses, I know that there are people here in the chat who have been affected by this situation directly, they were unable to get a PPP loan. And so Shake Shack had to pay it back. Now, just a couple days ago, they sent an email to their employees. And in the email to their employees, they accused police officers and National Guard members of committing acts of violence against peaceful protesters. Now, these are the same peaceful protesters who have looted, have set buildings on fire. They have hurt people. People have lost their lives as a result of this BLM narrative that's being spun right now throughout the United States. And part of that narrative is that all police officers are not worth, they're not valuable members of society, okay? Their lives are worth less than the gum stuck on the bottom of your shoe. Now, it's my contention that as a result of this narrative that's being spun, we now have 3 police officers in Manhattan who were poisoned or sickened in some manner, and I think they've dialed it down to bleach in their shakes from Shake Shack. And and I don't think it's any coincidence that this happened right after the corporate overlords of Shake Shack sent out this email telling their employees that the police and the National Guard were in the wrong here. When I think that anybody with half a brain can look around and take a good long look at the destruction that's engulfing our country right now, and say honestly that it's not the police. The police are not the ones who are causing this. Okay, I mean these are rioters, people who are riled up against the authority of our country, who have been told lies about what's happening with the arrests and the killings of unarmed people. Methods, I don't know if you know this, but I'm just going to ask you, if you had to guess, how many unarmed African American men would you say are killed by police in the midst of arrests on a yearly basis? I'll just say last year. How many people might you think it would be?
I might already have the answer because I've been listening to a lot of the reports about it. But isn't it something like 7 or 8?
7, 8, 9, something like that.
Yeah, right. No, and I'm gonna go ahead and drop an article about this in the chat for everybody because they came back and said, the NYPD came back and said that there was quote unquote no criminality in this. I guess they couldn't prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. But once again, we're in this climate now where we have to question all of it.
Yeah,
we have to absolutely question why, because a part of this that doesn't really get discussed that much and probably should is because of all this coverage of the BLM stuff, the violence and all that. And all of us are agreeing that it's absolutely horrible what's happening to our society. You know, God send the millstone end it all right now. Mm-hmm. Who's watching this, though, and is appreciating it and getting radicalized by it? The same kind of theory of, terrorists or an ISIS type thing, radicalizing people by putting out their videos and getting that. So how much of this being shown out there is being looked at, and the younger generations especially are getting, motivated by seeing this. And then they're like, well, what can I do? I just work at a Shake Shack, and then something can happen. Once again, I mean, innocent till proven guilty type thing. They're saying no criminality, but it's just a weird timing for this to be going on.
And the fact that they found no criminality, I think it has less to do with the fact that there was no criminality than it does with the climate that we're living in. Okay, so as an example, so you've got 3 officers who are sickened, poisoned in some manner. They believe it to be bleach. Then you have the incident that happened over the weekend in Atlanta, which kind of set everything aflame once again. There was a man who was intoxicated. He fell asleep in the drive-thru. He was pulled out of the car and questioned by police. The body cam footage has been released. They were very, very kind to him. They gave him the sobriety test, and then they attempted to arrest him, at which point he vigorously resisted that arrest. He pulled a taser off of the hips of one of the officers. He turned around and used it, and one of the officers that was trying to arrest him discharged his weapon. We all know what happened. This has been portrayed in the media as a murder. Okay, the officer who discharged his weapon has been fired, and he may face murder charges. Okay, and it's just the juxtaposition of those two. You poison a cop, nothing happens to you. You're a police officer working your job, your life is in danger, and a suspect is resisting arrest, and you're the one who's punished. So what kind of a message does that send to the police across the country? That tells them that they're not going to be supported in the commission of their jobs. It also tells the people who are lawless and want to commit crimes that they have free rein to do so. You look at all of the people who have been arrested for rioting, arson, theft, looting, all of it. Not a single person has been brought up on charges. In fact, they're all being released. Consistently being released back into the community. And then you've got people who are in the, whatever it's called now, Chazistan. I know it has a different name, but I can't remember what it is. You've got people, crime is up in there, okay? I saw an interview with somebody who lives in the district. He said he's afraid that his life is in danger. Of course, he's a cis white male, so yeah, his life is probably in danger. And, he said every night he's hearing gunshots. The police will not respond to calls from inside the principality, whatever you want to call it. You've got people just in the outskirts of it. They're unable to have police show up when they have an emergency. You've got the people who are guarding the borders of this colonial enclave. They are using weapons to intimidate and frighten people who are trying to get to their jobs, people who are trying to get to their apartments, people who are just walking by. And none of it is being punished. Okay? None of these people are being punished. So this sends the wrong message. That means that they are pushing us towards a lawless society to a point where these people are going to attempt to rise up and they're going to sign their own death warrants. Okay? We have a major problem in this country, and the problem is not police brutality. When you look at the numbers, yes, there are bad cops in the same way that there are bad everybody. There are bad bankers. There are bad gas station attendants. There are bad reporters, okay? The cross-section of people across this country is going to have a layer of bad people, a layer of good people, and a layer of people who just go along to get along. So what we need to do is work on bringing our country back to a point of calm center. And until we start supporting the men and women in law enforcement so that they can do their jobs, there's no way that's going to happen. Now, you look at New York again. All right, now the New York Police Commissioner has just announced that NYPD is going to be disbanding their entire anti-crime unit effective immediately. The anti-crime unit, so who's going to patrol the streets? I mean, what are these guys going to do? This is an incredible shift in law enforcement here in our country, and these people now believe and know that they can get away with anything. Now, the one shining light amongst all of this, President Trump today signed an executive order on police brutality. What exactly is it, methods? They're putting in like a series of like rules or regulations for police to follow.
Right. I didn't have the list, and I don't have the list in front of me of what all was being changed in that, but they're basically taking the standard of how police do things and making it on an executive order level have to reach a certain level. The biggest thing is the what you call it? What's the word that they use that they said they can't do unless they the cop's life is endangered. The chat can help me out with that. I can't remember just off the top of my head what it's called, but basically, and just real quick to a point that I saw, True Seeker in the chat is saying MSM is not helping the situation.
No,
absolutely not. Yeah, absolutely not helping.
Directly to blame.
Right. No, yeah, because how would this be this big of a deal? And a Red Pill might be bringing this up later, but it does dovetail into this, that BLM has been officially announced as the most popular. It's more popular than the president. Mm-hmm. And whether, of course, it's polls, we don't really know. Maybe they're just following the analytics of how much it's being talked about. Well, who's talking about it? Who's sharing the information? Who's covering it ad nauseum? We're covering it because we have to do a counter narrative, but that's still covering it. Mm-hmm. So it gets spread everywhere, and it becomes that big of a deal. And it's getting to the bigger picture on this. Of course, we can ask the questions, Red Pill, on, how are the cops going to be able to do their jobs? Are there going to be anybody that wants to be cops anymore? That whole thing. What's happening here is they could see that Trump was taking this country in the direction that we were told we were always supposed to be going in. We're all being prosperous again. Families are being united. We would have generations that are now being born into this, that are going to be able to take this on and pass on everything that we're trying to do with MAGA and everything, and not just here, all over the world. And so how do you basically just try to stop all that? You make it just lawless. Mm-hmm. And you make it to where it's dangerous. You make it for the genuine people, don't want to be involved in things. They stay at home. They allow all these things to happen. They glorify all this evil and, breaking the law and stuff like that, and cause havoc under that presidency. Mm-hmm. And then they would try to rewrite history even in real time and say that it's Trump's fault. Chokehold is that word I was thinking. I can't believe I couldn't think of that. The chokehold. I
was thinking it when you were saying it. I was like, he that can't be what he's looking for.
Right. Yeah, no, it's just one of those things where like the simplest word wouldn't come to my head. But yeah, that they're making it to where it has to be the cop's life in danger for them to actually use it. Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, it makes sense. I do get it. And yeah, John Gotti, BLM is a psyop. I can agree with that. It's also a slush fund. Mm-hmm. It's also just the major play of this battle between good and evil that we're in.
So, in my opinion, the press and the Dems are completely to blame, 100%. It's all about the election. They're trying to cause as much unrest as possible, and I don't think that they understand what they're signing up for. Okay. With that poll, it was a Rasmussen poll. They're typically a conservative pollster unit. It showed 62% of America has a favorable opinion of Black Lives Matter. Now, it is such a loaded argument, okay? Because we've gone from being a country that is based on the idea of equality, that all men and women are created equal, that it doesn't matter what your race, your creed, your color is, to now that idea being a slur in and of itself. So I don't know if it's people who are afraid to say or admit that they have an unfavorable opinion of what the organization itself is doing, or if they phrase the question in such a manner like, do you believe that Black Lives... Yes, I believe that Black Lives matter, but I'm not stupid, okay? Hispanic lives matter. Asian lives matter. And yes, even Caucasian lives matter. All people's lives have value. And the fact that they are trying to demonize anyone who says that is absolutely frightening, because we are moving from a society that was seeking equality to a society which is now seeking supremacy of one race over another. Supremacy of any kind by any race, by any one group, is antithetical to the things that our forefathers were trying to do in creating this republic, okay? To the ideas that they set forth, to what we were trying to instill in this great scientific experiment, which is America, all right? We're on the edge of these people handing over the reins of all power and authority to a radicalized group, which is going to destroy our country. They already are, okay? By removing these statues, by removing the reminders of our heritage, where we came from, good or bad, we are in 1984, Okay, it is so staggering to me. I've often joked for years that this is what we were moving towards, but Lord, I never thought we would get here this fast, this quickly. It has come just like a thief in the night. I'm staggered and shocked by how quickly this has happened and by how blind so many people are. I've been watching like the videos of people inside that zone in Seattle and the things that they're saying, and they are not shy about talking about their total disdain for anyone who doesn't have melanin in their skin. Okay, it's shocking to me that these people are openly talking about this, and I am just waiting for the hammer to drop. President Trump and the DOJ. I understand that investigations take time, but in the time that they're taking for that investigation, the country is being torn apart, and we can't allow that to happen.
I totally agree with you, man, on that. And just some things have broken in the news like in the last few hours, and the new name of Chaz, the artist formerly known as Chaz, is now Chop. I don't even know what the acronym stands for, because I'm sure that they're going to argue and just change the name again. But they have apparently made an agreement and negotiation with the local authorities there, and have given up three blocks back to the U.S. So another country has been so kind to gift us back the 3 blocks that we had. But I mean, I agree with you. I agree with you that they're building this whole, like, to that point about 1984. We always kind of saw this coming. Anybody that's at least been questioning, not even fully red pilled, but questioning things over the last many decades, way before even our favorite Anon showed up, we always could see that this is where they were going to take it. But it was the boiling of the frogs, the slow roll. And now, because Trump winning, because of this movement, because of everybody waking up and calling them out and exposing them, they had to just crank it to 11. Mm-hmm. And it's just so surreal at that point that they, to see that's where the end game would have been always, to be that, having everybody report on each other, all those things. I'm watching liberal Twitter. Mm-hmm. Anytime they see somebody on a video, they'll tag, their local police department or somebody and say, hey, can you take care of this person or whatever? And it's a dangerous road to take everybody down. And that does help, give more credibility in my eyes that there is something in the works behind the scenes that's just going to be, the biblical aspect that our favorite non talks about, just bringing it all down on their heads. Because why else would they be taking it absolutely this far? It's mind-blowing, but it also shows how evil they are, and it makes sense on why it's had to play out this way.
Yeah, and somebody in the chat asked if I forgot what Q had said, that sometimes people have to be shown, not told. Now, I haven't forgotten at all. I'm just purely talking about my visceral reaction having to watch it happen, And I'm very surprised that this poll came out showing that this group is more popular than the president. I mean, I'm just, all I'm saying is that I want this to be taken care of sooner rather than later. And I'm just wondering now how far it has to go before people wake up and really understand the implications of what they're doing and what they're allowing. I believe this will be taken care of. I believe it's going to be cleaned up. But man, it's not easy to watch. I mean, like, I know that I make an effort to be a cheerleader. Okay, I mean, like, I am supporting the president and his mission 100%. But it doesn't mean that I don't see what's going on, and it doesn't make me sick to my stomach to witness our country being torn apart. I mean, it's an absolute shocker. I just, I'm very, very despondent thinking about all of it. But I do want to make sure everybody understands I'm still trusting the plan. I'm still waiting patiently for this to happen. But man, I'm going to speak out on it while it's happening. I'm not going to allow these people just to tear the nation apart. and sit by and idly watch. I don't think that that's what our favorite Anon wants us to do. I think that as long as we're here and we're using this platform to speak out and speak our minds and report the news, it's my duty to report it honestly. If I just sat back and said, oh, well, the country's being destroyed, but it's okay because Q's going to save us, I think that would be that would be naive. That would be very naive. It's happening, okay? And unfortunately, this is a war that we're in the midst of, and there are going to be casualties. Things are going to happen that I'm not necessarily comfortable with, but it's going to happen that way, unfortunately. Our country has been so brainwashed. People have just been so mindless. They've just been eating whatever is being spoon-fed to them. And I think that it's going to have to be when these rich white liberals in the media, they are finally going to be affected by this, when the police departments are closed in their neighborhoods, when the throng and the mob come for them, scale their fence, and set their mansion on fire. I think that's when they're finally going to understand the danger of what they've done and what they've been propagating.
No, I totally agree. Just real quick, Greg C in the chat says to you, it's okay to vent, man. It's good to hear. We're all feeling it too. And yeah, we wanted to have, discussions like this on any shows that we do, because we're trying to, other people can relate, but it also can, we can speak our minds, because we've also been accused of being too positive at times too. So it's good to kind of just balance and talk about all these things in general.
Yeah.
I think that we, as far as the plan, whether it be what our favorite Nons point to and all that, I just choose to live in faith, as far as, my creator, God, and live in that world. And that, to me, and really, really believe in it, because that's the best way to get through these times, just in general. As far as there being, trust in man itself to have a plan in place on their own, allowing these things to happen. It's something cool. Yeah, it's a cool thing to speculate. Literally, that happens every second of every day. If you just go on Twitter, you can find it.
Yeah.
But the idea itself is that if we believe that God intervened and put Trump in office, in 2016, why would it then be left to failure on that, when you have a bunch of God-fearing patriots praying around the world, for the success and the removal of evil in any form or fashion, and let judgment be judgment? That's where I live in all that. But I do get a lot of, how can they go about it now? It's too late. It's too close to the election. Also, Red Pill and I don't have the magic answer to that. We really don't. We can speculate. We have theories that we have, and sometimes we don't even put them out there because we don't want to cause that telephone game. But the idea itself is that if you let God have control over your life, and put faith in him and live day to day accordingly, still live your life, that's, to me, is the best way to go about things. And it's kept me way more peaceful than I see some people, going through stuff. And I don't blame them. Life is emotional. All this is emotional. Seeing all these videos, that's the intent of them, is to rile up emotion, whether it's anger or fear or, resentment, a false sense of we're being lied to. All those things are all about having this information, these videos, these images in front of us. And so it's expected to have those moments. So even Red Pill and I go through them, but I don't want to live without faith. I really don't.
No, me either. And don't get me wrong. It's not like I'm staying awake at night or anything like that, but I feel like there's going to be some place for me to talk about my discomfort with having to watch it go down. This is definitely the place. I need to say thank you to Charles Shaw. Thank you very much. Support for the show. Thank you to Brenda as well. She says, thanks, guys. And then Bruce wants to know if I got the email with Robert David Steele. Yes, I have. And I've had people request me to have Robert David Steele on the program before. Personally, I don't think I'm ever going to. There's just been some complications with Robert David Steele in the past, and let's say some ongoing litigation, and it is my intention to stay as far away from having to litigate with any other people on this platform. I want nothing to do with it. So that's, you know, hopefully if anybody is wondering why he hasn't been on the show yet, I mean, that's pretty much the reason. All right, so going back to the story here, and what it might take for this to finally boil over and affect the people in the mainstream media. You know, and already it is. I mean, CNN was attacked over the weekend in Atlanta. Their camera was destroyed. They were mobbed by rioters. But Paul Sperry put this tweet out, and this is something that we've talked about here on the show before, the idea that the Chauvin charges potentially were set up to fail. So, you know, there's this article on Medium talking about why Derek Chauvin might get off on this murder charge because they're not going to be able to prove it. Now, they could probably uncomplicate it a little bit if they release the body cam footage, don't you think, Methods?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And the fact that, you know, Ellison, that's his name, right? Ellison?
Keith Ellison.
Yeah, the fact that he won't release them. And I had seen a tweet, I'm sure that the chat could find it if you just go look on Twitter, of him just a few years ago in some circumstance calling for police footage to be released. Yep. So how ironic that he's the one holding it close to his chest. Now, I just need to read this comment from the chat because, you know, sometimes you just read and you're like, what? Mm-hmm. When the chat's flying through. And it's our buddy TikTok. So he says, he tags me, he goes, a man was tested in Indonesia for the Kung flu and got a positive pregnancy test. How does this happen? I don't even know if that's true. You know, we like to have sauce and stuff, TikTok, but you're our buddy. If that's a headline that you can put in my life by DMing to me, that would be fantastic.
Oh, that's funny. I definitely want to know if that's true, if that's what happened.
Right. Just the headlines itself are hilarious. Like the ones that we're talking about, how Matt Gaetz and Ron Perlman were in the argument back and forth yesterday.
Yeah.
And Jim Jordan was getting involved. I think Ted Cruz and all that. And the headlines about them going after each other, wrestling for, you know, donation charity or I don't know what. It's just what a timeline, right? Like what a timeline we're living in if you just step back. Oh, and he sent it over to me, the article. Thank you, TikTok. It's a Breitbart article. I'll give it to you, Red Pill.
Okay.
You know, we'll take a moment during this like deep talk about all this chaos, and here we are. The headline is Indonesia, man told he is pregnant after rapid Kung flu test.
Hang on, I just hit the wrong button. There we go. That's insane. A man in Indonesia who requested a test kit for the Chinese CV-19 ended up receiving a positive pregnancy test result on Saturday, according to local media. Coconuts, that's my favorite news outlet, said the 27-year-old man, identified by his initials, returned from a highly infected area. He received the results, which were for a pregnancy test instead of the CV. To his surprise, he received a reactive result, presumably meaning he's pregnant. Now, how in the heck does that even happen? How does a man test positive for being pregnant? And I see that Real Red Pill Girlfriend is in the chat. Hi, baby. Glad you're here. It makes no sense to me. I mean, I guess maybe that calls into question the actual pregnancy test itself.
Right. Yeah. How many false positives are out there if it's happening in that direction? But it's definitely interesting. Just to take it back to where you were going with things, Red Pill, as far as Chauvin goes, you can see this playing out as a potential thing. We're not telling you it's going to happen this way. It's just a hunch that I'll at least speak for myself, and Red Pill can decide to agree or not. They've been holding these body cams back. Away. And let's just go ahead and just assume, for the sake of argument, I know I've seen plenty of speculation about a body dummy, all this stuff, and how Floyd is still alive. That's fine. Okay, that's an argument for another day. But let's just take it on face value of what they're telling us. Then show the body cam footage, show that George Floyd was resisting all this stuff, doing all these different things, and they make the decision off of that the police were overcharged and then they're let go. What kind of reigniting of the flame would happen when we already know that a controlled opposition would run with it? planning for it, that right there is the exact script they would need to have everything start up all over again.
And I do think that's exactly what's going to happen. I mean, that's my prediction anyways. Also, Leslie Burgett, what's up? Jojo K, good to see you. I saw White Hat in there too. What's up, guys? So yeah, I think that's exactly what's going to happen. They're going to get off. There are going to be no guilty verdicts, and it's going to really, really inflame things. If you think people are angry now, then just wait. And I think that you're going to see more incidences of people who are Caucasian being singled out and beaten or, hit. There was a guy in, I think it was in New York. He hit a 94-year-old woman in the head as he was walking by her. I just saw Carly Kay posted a video of a young girl on a subway platform being surrounded and hit by no fewer than 6 people. It's really disgusting. They have created this atmosphere where the lives of Caucasian people are not valid. They're not worth anything. And so people are lashing out at us. And it's not safe. It's not safe. This is why I said people need to protect themselves. They are absolutely fanning these flames of division. And it's going to take something major for these people to be shut down and for our country to begin to heal. I kind of thought that maybe that was happening over the weekend, when we had the revelation come out about Act Blue, taking all the money, which is supposed to go to BLM, just going to the DNC, essentially. There was also that organization in Minneapolis, which raised $35 million for bail money for people who are involved in these riots and these protest events. Guess how much money they've spent?
How much?
$200,000.
That's it.
$200,000. $35 million, and they've only spent $200,000. I mean, they don't have to. All the perpetrators are just being let out. But I still think it's way too much money, and it just goes to show how brainwashed these people are to be able to donate that much money to a cause like that. Imagine if $35 million was raised for, homeless people. Okay, the homeless problem in L.A., in San Francisco, could be wiped out overnight, absolutely. But instead, they're putting it to defend and bail out people who are destroying their own communities. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, we have the whole idea that the Democrats, rhinos and stuff in government and then local governments and all that stuff have been just treating the whole U.S. as slush funds, to take their money to just do their washing of it, maybe through overseas stuff. And it comes back and that's how they end up being way more, richer before they got in. Mm-hmm. So now that kind of jig is up, in the case with Trump being president, and they're obviously being investigated for all those things. What better way to get back to doing that by having a situation pop up that wasn't around last year or last few years, have it pop up, have money needing to be raised for it. And then what happens to that money? The same question I ask myself when Democrats run for candidate. How many millions did all those people, that whole gang of people that they had on stage, running and saying, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, knowing they weren't going to win, but they'll take your money. Mm-hmm. Where'd that money go? And I know it's a rhetorical question, but that's the same kind of thing with all this. If they only use 200,000 and people are still donating, mm-hmm. And then this gets picked up, let's just go ahead and say that, they hunker down, Trump and Barr step up and fix it. If that money's not, let's say it's legitimately donated for those causes and it's there and all that, and they can't, I guess, confiscate it unless it's gone about a certain way. Where does that money go? Are they going to give it back? No. So no. It's just a multi-pronged, evil, filthy operation on the idea of blaming the opposite, an opposite race, all these things. And I'm not saying all of it. I know that a lot of us have to disclaimer when I don't even really want to. It's pretty much implied. Our audience understands that. Yeah. But the idea of doing that, this is overtly racist, but they always want to say it's Caucasians that are the racists. What's the word when it's the opposite way? Right? I thought that it was applied in both directions. If anything, if this is not full blown controlled op, destroy the cities, foreign, the Soros type stuff and all that, then isn't racism really getting exposed right now during all this? The underlining racist stuff that's been going on. And Lemon, did you see the clip? I grabbed it yesterday of Lemon, and he was trying to explain how everybody's racist by saying that if you were born in America, there's no way for you to not end up racist. And he just said it as an open statement. And I just shook my head and had to listen 5 times to make sure I heard it right.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, you don't have to be racist because you're from America. And I would actually say that the generation that we live in is definitely the least racist generation that we've ever had in America, because we've been changing and growing as a country for many years. And now, essentially, when everybody has their guard down and people are cued into the idea of equality, suddenly it gets flipped, and we might as well be plantation owners, okay, getting ready to get strung up in the trees ourselves. I mean, that's how they would likely portray it. Just because you are a person walking down the street with the color of the skin that you do, you are suddenly put into a box. And it's like, I'm not willing to place anybody in a box. I don't care what race you are. I don't care what religion you are. All right. There are bad people in every segment of society. But the way that the mainstream media plays it, if you're a white American, you are the devil. You are essentially the worst of the worst. And, I'm getting real sick of it. I'm getting real sick of it, because I think that perhaps the actions that these people are taking, it's going to cause some people to perhaps change their mind about what they used to feel about race in America. They are taking one group of people and pitting them against the other, and it's going to be really, really bad for everybody involved. And like I said, it's going to take Don Lemon, it's going to take somebody on CNN, Anderson Cooper, getting their house broken into and set on fire before they do anything about it. And I think they're going to be really surprised about who's at their door.
Right. No, I totally get it, man. But I guess we can go ahead and switch gears a little bit. I know we've been talking about this for a while.
Yeah.
Just real quick, we've got about 4,500 people here hanging out with us. I see 1.5 thousand likes. If you guys don't mind turning the thumb blue, thanks for hanging out with us today. Thank you for hitting us up on PayPal. And we'll go ahead and move on and talk about other things like Indonesian pregnant men.
This article from The Hill. We had some newly declassified documents showing that in 2017 there was a massive security breach at the clowns in America. And who put this out? It was Ron Wyden, Democrat from Oregon. Okay, so I mean, I think the only reason that this would be released like right now is so that they could further say that the Trump administration has, has done bad things, basically.
Right.
2.2 billion pages.
Yeah, it's happened. They're saying, 2017. Mm-hmm. So that would have been, who would have been running then? Because Brennan would have already been gone.
I think this would have been Pompeo.
Right.
If Pompeo wasn't in yet, then it was still the interim from whoever after Brennan left. But, this is from Vault 7, the Vault 7 leak at WikiLeaks, I believe. But I mean, here's the thing, like whoever this guy was, I can't remember his name. I mean, you would have to imagine he was probably stocking those documents away for some time. It wasn't like, he all of a sudden in 2017, he was like, oh, I'm just going to put all this information out there, hand it over to Julian. I mean, they tend to vet this information and they sit on it for a little bit. It's not like it just comes out all at once.
Right. And I mean, we're talking 34 terabytes. That's a lot in document talk. Yeah. I mean, that's absolutely a lot. Yeah. And it makes you wonder on if because you have this come out now and then you have information come out later about things that happen with the DNC and then the WikiLeaks stuff and all that. And they're like, oh, it's just, data breaches. It's accidents on all this stuff. And it just kind of paints the picture. It's suspect as to why a Democrat would release that at this time. Now, if it was somebody else releasing it, we might look at it at a different way, as in it's bringing these names back into the limelight. But yeah, to me, it was just something interesting that I saw happen, before the show, and figured I'd bring it up.
Do you guys know who Rick Wilson is?
This guy.
Yeah. Rick Wilson. He's got 1 million followers on Twitter. He's major never Trumper. And Caleb Hull got a hold of an Instagram photo that he posted back in 2014, and it had the Confederate flag on the image. And I just want to show this real quick, just to show the hypocrisy of the left. There it is, posted by the Rick Wilson on August 3rd, 2014. You've clearly got that Confederate flag in the background. Rick Wilson is canceled.
Right. Yeah, I love that Domino's went back after him, politely, of course. Did you see that?
No, what happened?
Yeah, so they basically went and found a reply to Kayleigh McEnany, our press secretary, back in 2012. And they were thanking her for giving a compliment to Domino's. So it's a customer. They're just thanking. Well, Rick Wilson and, this cancel culture went and retweeted that from 8 years ago and said, you just got yourself canceled, or something like that.
For thanking Domino's? Or Domino's is canceled?
Yeah, they're saying that Domino's is canceled for thanking Kayleigh McEnany for making a good comment on Twitter about them 8 years ago.
Wow.
So Domino's responded. I'd have to go find the tweet, but it had already was like reaching more likes than Rick's tweet, because this has gone all over the place. And it was basically like, oh, I guess this is 2020. We're not surprised about it. Mm-hmm. But that's where we are. But then they got really mad at all of us for going after James Gunn and his old tweets. Mm-hmm. But it's a different concept than thanking someone of what he was talking about. But yeah, it's just the world. It's going to be this messy, and it's going to be difficult at times to see through it. I see some people in the chat talking about why are we sounding depressed, or why does Red Pill look sad? It's the topics itself, and it's not. Yeah. We're not gonna try to hide it. A bit like I said, we've been accused before about being too upbeat about things, and it's suspect. No, you're just gonna get what you get. It's just the topics that we needed to talk about today aren't exactly the most fun to talk about, and we're not going to try to sit here and laugh about all these things.
Yeah.
But to me, going after Domino's on an 8-year-old tweet, if it's that far, and I'm not calling people to go harass Rick Wilson, but I imagine he's got a gold mine of old tweets that he needs to be reminded of from now to the election. Might be something I do for a little bit of free time today. But the idea is just insane.
I need to say thank you to Donna. Thank you very much, Donna. Also to Denise. She said, so thankful for you and Methods and all that you do. What do you think? Who do you think is going to be the first arrest? I believe that it will be Susan Rice, as does Tennessee Homesteader. Can't wait to see you over on WTPI Thursday night. That's right. I'm going to be on We the People Insider Thursday night. All love and respect. Where we go one, we go all. Susan Rice is a good choice. I mean, honestly, I have no real firm picks for who it's going to be for the first arrest, because it could be any number of many people, and I would be happy with any of them. If it was Comey, I would be overjoyed. If it was Brennan, I would be overjoyed. But to think that it's going to have to be like a revelation, where people are going to have to see that arrest, they're going to have to understand the charges, and they're going to really be blown away by who it could be. Susan Rice, I don't know that Susan Rice would do that, but, I think that Obama would definitely do that. I think that maybe Comey could do that. But, I don't know. Methods, do you have like a real firm pick on who you think it could be?
I mean, if we're gonna go down this road, I think it's gonna be a handful of people at least
Yeah.
at once. I mean, how do you shock the world when you just see, side by sides on a grid on your screen of perp walks or something like that.
Yeah.
Something that we would all make our screensavers and stuff like that. And just real quick in the chat, I'll agree with a lot of people saying that I don't like Domino's personally.
I hate Domino's.
I know when we order anything like that, we do Pizza Hut. So shout out to Chad, a few other people in the chat talking about Pizza Hut because that's what we do. We just like it better.
I don't have any Pizza Huts that are open around me anymore. All of them shut down because of the Rona. Well, speaking of the Rona, this brings up our next story. I think that a lot of people have been really upset about the handling of old people, older Americans during this crisis, shoving people into nursing homes, obviously the most vulnerable population to something like this, to a viral pneumonia. And so you have states like Michigan, New York, New Jersey, California, and Pennsylvania. These are the states where many older Americans were put into these nursing homes, and arguably you could look at it and say, well, it seems like the way they did that, they wanted to make sure that the greatest number of people would come down with this sickness and then go ahead and just expire as a result, and then we can blame President Trump. And I don't think you're alone in thinking that, if that's what you are assuming. But 42% of all deaths from CV-19 in the United States occurred in nursing homes. That is over 40,000 deaths in nursing homes. And then another 60,000 were outside of nursing homes. Now, this is if you believe the official figures, but I think that obviously there is a problem with the way that these numbers are counted. But only 1.8% of the U.S. population lives in nursing homes, but 40% of those who died were living in those nursing homes. This is a pretty big scandal, and Steve Scalise is trying to get to the bottom of it. So the states that I mentioned, he sent letters to each of them, to the governors of these states, demanding some explanation, some rationale for why they behaved the way they did. I think that everybody deserves an answer on that. I think that people who lost family members deserve an answer. I think that we deserve an answer as to why Governor Cuomo himself moved his own mother out of a nursing home, but then moved everybody else's moms into a nursing home. It doesn't make much sense unless they were trying to make sure that there was just a horrific loss of life.
Right. They needed those numbers, even though they're obviously manufacturing those numbers and increasing them and just claiming people who don't have it, or they had something major underlining that just didn't help the cause. Those numbers, it is that evil. And I don't know, I guess the logic would be it's so sinister the public wouldn't believe they're doing it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like that would be the only logic I get, but I also don't credit these. I know that some people want to say these people are really smart because they plan out all these sadistic and evil things. But I'm on the side of our favorite or not. These people are morons. Mm-hmm. So that logic and multi-layer thinking, the public wouldn't believe that we would do that. Just do it. We need the numbers. We don't care. But I'm dropping the tweet from Scalise in the chat for you guys to have it. It's very important because that's not a story to sleep on. Because if this gets exposed in that way, which we all can assume that they were doing this to influx the numbers and they caused that tragedy, that to me is a talking point that would need to be wall to wall, that we would all need to be covering in real time. And, to see, if they do that and they put handcuffs on people because of this situation, then it brings back the narrative in our direction of it being, not Trump's fault. Mm-hmm. It's the Democrats' fault. And that's very important to understand in all this, that if we are going to place blame on anybody that's not the CCP, then, it definitely needs to be on the handling of it by these Democrat leaders.
Now, getting back to the idea that the numbers are inflated, Gaffernon just tagged me in a tweet. In Brazil, members of parliament have broken into a hospital that claimed to have 5,000 infected and 200 deaths from CV-19. They caught them red-handed. There's not a single person in the hospital. I'm going to play this video for you because this is pretty insane.
Cheguei, qual é? Eu vou entrar. Me barra agora. Cadê o armário? Vem comigo. Ele não quer deixar eu entrar no hospital. Vem cá. Entra comigo aqui. Agora eu vou entrar. Vai segurando. Jesus, deixa ninguém chegar perto de mim. Ninguém. E se chegar, toma todo o procedimento, vou caminhar pra delegacia. Se ficar aqui, eu vou caminhar pra delegacia. Mete o pé. Ouviu? Você quer ir pra delegacia? Você não precisa abrir o portão. Você tá fazendo sacanagem. É o quê? Aqui é privado? Aqui é ladrão, rapaz. Só tem bandido aqui, rapaz. Campo privado aqui. Isso aqui é obra pública. É dinheiro do povo. É dinheiro do povo, rapaz. É dinheiro do povo. E me barra pra você ver. Me barra pra você ver. Quem é isso aí, então? Se não é privado, esquerda. Ninguém fala nada. É aqui todo mundo. Vamos lá. É por isso que não queria deixar eu entrar, gente. Ó, isso aqui é pra inaugurar hoje. Olha isso aqui. Não tem nada pronto. Uma covardia com a população. Ladrão, governador safado. Ladrão, empresariados. Você é corrupta. Por isso que não queriam deixar o deputado entrar. Isso aqui era para estar sendo inaugurado desde o dia 30 de abril. Olha o estado disso aqui. Olha isso aqui. Aqui. Botaram para entrar. Eu tiro aqui e entro. Não, calma aí. Ninguém me respeitou. Não que me deixaram entrar. Agora vamos começar o show. Bora. O senhor pode entrar, segurança não. O senhor pode entrar, segurança não importa que eu... Então cala a boca, não fala comigo. Cala a boca, pô. Então vem cá falar comigo, pô. Vem cá falar comigo. Vai correr. Ninguém me responde, seu merda. Você é um ladrão. Bandido. Tem que ser preso. Ladrão tem que ser preso. Ainda mais roubando dinheiro da saúde. Porque quando rouba dinheiro da saúde, não tô roubando só dinheiro, não. Tô roubando vidas.
Yeah, I haven't seen this video. I'm looking at it now because it's on the last.
Lord, I was muted.
This guy, and his mute button. Yeah, I haven't seen this video yet. I'm kind of looking at it on my screen now because people know I can't watch or see it on while we're talking. People were asking for the link. I'll wait for everybody that's politely telling you that you are muted to drop the link so it doesn't get lost in it. But yeah, man, that's messed up. It's absolutely messed up.
Yeah, not cool. All right. What was the other thing we had pulled up here? I don't think we had anything else pulled up. I think that was it. Well, I saw people saying in the chat that they had some stuff that they wanted us to talk about. Yes, every single show, Michael Fry. I have a lot that I'm paying attention to here, guys. So apologize if I end up muting once a show, but I'm, you know, I got a lot that I've got on my plate here. People always say, just get a producer. Well, you know, I don't know anyone in person who could come here and produce for me. It's not that easy. And Methods couldn't do it from where he's at, because, you know, it's just not the way live streaming works, unfortunately. So maybe if enough people support the channel and we can purchase like a studio, then that would be a reality that we could make come true. But unfortunately, you know, I don't see that as happening anytime soon. Somebody's asking us to talk about Neon Revolt. Man, I don't have any comment on Neon Revolt. I haven't seen the post that people are referring to. I got a couple of comments from people asking me to talk to him. I did reach out to him, haven't heard back from him yet. So yeah, unfortunately, I don't know how to. Yeah, big red light. That isn't a part of the software that I have. I changed my Stream Deck so that there would be a big red light, but I thought that I hit the button and I didn't. So I guess I'm just gonna not mute ever again, and if anybody complains about me vaping, then you're just gonna have to deal with it, because I would rather vape and have people upset with that than have people upset with me muting. There are also times when I need to do things and I don't want you guys to hear me doing things. I gotta like talk to my daughter, or I gotta talk to the dogs, or the dogs start barking. There are definitely times when having a mute button is very handy, but I'm feeling like it is not it. It is not it.
I mean, it's one of those things too that Red Pill's human. It's gonna happen, and we appreciate everybody saying in the mute. But you understand, like every time this happens, you have to explain it. Then people say you shouldn't mute at all, just let it be, and then you vape, and then you get emails about how they can't watch you anymore because you vape. Right. And I don't even know if that to me is almost a shill tactic at this point. If you've emailed and you genuinely meant that, I'm not trying to call you that, but the whole idea of it is like, okay, he was muted for a second. Let's move forward on it. But yeah, I'm overlooking at Gab now to see what's being discussed. 'Cause I had a lot of people bring that up to me too. Just like anybody else, we're not their keeper. If there's something that they're saying, all because we support and have promoted his new podcast stuff that he's doing, then that's fine. I liked what I heard on the first few of them, but if he wants to then take it sideways and do something else, that doesn't mean that I should be tied to him throughout all of that. That's why a lot of the times I try to stay out of it and not even associate with a lot of people. And I'm not saying they're all suspect if you don't see me interacting with them. It's just because that's what happens. I made one comment about Neon Revolt on a show when he had something go on a few months ago, and then I watched a hit campaign about me saying, I'm suspect for doing that about him. Well, Neon didn't do anything wrong to me, so I don't have a bad thing to say about him. And if he's got an opinion that's gone sideways and that's how he feels, fine, more power to him. What's the whole thing about promoting free speech if we can't allow people to do it? So it is what it is. I'll look into it, Red Pill, and I'll catch you up on it. But if it's something that's that big of a trigger and all of this, we're obviously not going to cover it right now.
Yeah, and here's the thing, like, just because we know people and we're friends with people, we're not responsible for, how they feel or what they say. And, people are always going to have their own opinion, and they're going to say things without consorting with me, ahead of time to make sure that I approve of what they do or say. And I don't think they need to. So whatever is going on with Neon, I still wish him the best. I still love him. If he has an opinion that's different from mine, I'm going to allow him to have that, because it's really none of my business. I forgot, the other thing we did want to talk about was the decision from the Department of Justice, how they are going to reinstitute the federal death penalty for specifically 4 individuals who are child killers.
Right, and I had that pulled up as well, and I know a lot of people are touting this as a victory in the sense because justice is being done, to people that did commit these horrible acts towards children. And I know a lot of people got involved in this movement, and sometimes it keeps them in this movement because they think about the children, they think about their own children and the future and all that. I agree. It's tragic that these things even have to happen at all. But I'll drop the link to the DOJ thing here in the chat for you guys to have it, to read on it more. I can appreciate it, if they're, let the punishment fit the crime. But, I do know that the left absolutely loves to say that we're all a death cult. Mm-hmm. So I don't particularly, say those certain words and stuff or tweet them out, because it does, in context to people, they might not get it. We get it in the movement because of how much that we want to see justice happen. But it is kind of a slippery slope on the wordage.
So we've got Daniel Lewis Lee, Wesley Ira Perkey, Dustin Lee Honkin, and Keith Dwayne Nelson all convicted of murdering children, and not even just children. It looks like, several of them, killed multiple people. So, if there's going to be anybody who is deserving of the federal death penalty, I'm going to say it's these guys, So let them, they've made their bed, they can lie in it. That's about it.
Right.
Get over it. But John Solomon, he was talking about it. I'll drop that tweet from John Solomon in there too. There we go. All right. So what else do you guys want to talk about that is going on in the world? Because, I mean, we've gone through everything. And unfortunately, I feel like it's been a slow news day. The only stories that are populating the feeds are in regards to the issues that we discussed. It's a shame. It's a real shame. In Boston, they want to tear down the statue of Abraham Lincoln, the man who ended slavery. That makes absolutely no sense to me. This is something I did want to mention. The FDA has revoked the emergency use of hydroxychloroquine for the treatment of CV-19, which to me is just another ploy to keep people sick. They want to make sure that we are unable to exit our homes and restart our lives, and by taking away the only medicine so far that's been proven to do anything, that they're keeping us essentially locked up and in fear still. So it's a tragic thing.
I totally agree with you. That did kind of make me, have pause about things. It's like, why would they do that? But then again, a lot of this doesn't make sense, besides understanding that there is a lot of just battles going back and forth, and we're all kind of just the collateral damage and that stuff. It's a mess. Kelly Pinzon, so I'll just say Kelly. I probably already ravaged your name. Is asking about the cell outages. Wasn't there like 4 or 5 different companies that had all their stuff go down?
Yeah, I believe it was everybody except for Verizon and AT&T. I didn't notice it at all. Apparently, my provider was affected by it, but I didn't notice anything. That's
a great thing to ask the chat. Give us a 1 if your service went down. Give us a 2 if it didn't. Because I asked everybody I know, and nobody told me about having a problem. So, 1 if you lost your service during all that stuff. 2 if you didn't.
Also, thank you to the Spicy Patriot. Appreciate the Spicy Patriot for that. What was 2? 2
was fine. 2 was fine. 2 was fine. 1, you lost your power. So yeah,
okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still seeing a lot more 1s than I expected in that, just because of me asking around and not seeing anything. Mm-hmm. But that was definitely curious. It is curious timing for those things to be happening. Had seen some conversations from some plane ferries about the EMP planes being out and about. Mm-hmm. Don't have the sauce in front of me on that, but that's just interesting timing, and you would expect that kind of thing to be attempted as well. It's definitely suspect.
Also, President Trump is looking to recall 9,500 troops from Germany, and apparently Republican lawmakers are the ones standing in his way. They want to keep all of those troops there, but in my opinion, if he brings them home, then we'll be able to use them here. Somebody's saying doctors can still prescribe hydroxychloroquine. So if they remove the emergency use of it, doctors could prescribe it before, but it sounded to me like the FDA taking away that ability for people to commonly use it. It just makes it more difficult for people to get it.
Right. And just real quick, I've seen Jojo. Okay, thank you for bringing this up. I'm assuming you're referring, the chat wants an explanation of the video that Red Pill played.
I'm going to again.
Yeah, well, I have the tweet with the video, and it has the explanation on it, or at least whoever tweeted this out. And apparently they're saying members of Parliament of Brazil break in the hospital that claimed to have 5,000 infected and 200 deaths from the Kung Flu and caught them red-handed, not one person they have, and they frauded the world. That's the claim by this tweet with the video.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to drop that in the chat for you guys so you have it. And thank you, JoJo, for letting us know about, people wondering what it is. Because it is, I haven't listened yet, but is it in a different language?
Yeah, it's in Portuguese. Yeah, Portuguese, yeah.
Right. Well, that wouldn't make sense. And sorry about that, chat. But that definitely, to me, just looking at this without playing the audio, that is pretty crazy, right?
Yeah. I mean, they're supposed to have 5,000 sick people inside there, and they open it up, and there's just nobody there. All it is a bunch of people that work there, essentially. Like, and it's not even clean. You had a bunch of people with, like, mop buckets and stuff, but there was like, no patients, just a bunch of empty beds.
And I'm seeing multiple people in the chat saying that our buddy Dave from X22 Report did a good explanation on the hydroxychloroquine emergency rule.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure he did. Fantastic work over there. So if y'all are needing a better explanation, then go over there.
That makes sense. Taking away the authorization to use HCQ allows all doctors to prescribe it to anyone, not just sick in hospitals. Okay. All right, good. Very good. Very, very good.
Okay, well, we don't mind being wrong. If that sounds good, that sounds good.
Yeah.
That sounds way better because it didn't make sense to me. And then once again, it's back to that headline reading. You take it and run with it, and we probably should have researched a little bit more. But
well,
doing 100 things, man.
Yeah. Here's some good news. There's a third suspect that's been arrested in connection with the murder of David Dorn in St. Louis, the retired police captain. That is excellent news. That poor guy, he was guarding a pawn shop for his friend. Looters broke in and stole a bunch of stuff, and he was gunned down by the looters out in front. And they captured it on Facebook Live.
Yeah.
Shocking.
Crazy internet age. We see everything and all that. But yeah, Nancy Allen in the chat says, thanks to us for venting when you're in that place. Many of us are feeling a need to vent, although we totally trust the outcome ending positively.
Mm-hmm.
And she adds that she loves this community. We do too. And having all these things happen, we're going to have these moments on these shows. We try to just be in the moment. If I have a bad day into a show, I'm not going to fake it on here.
Mm-hmm.
Red Pill's not going to fake it on here. We're just going to try to do the best we can. And there's hopefully imagine how we're going to be talking when certain things occur. Like let's say November 4th, we're able to talk then, and you'll see the excitement there, even though we will probably be streaming that night, I imagine, on the election.
It's just, I guess what it is there's just no good news. Like
right.
there's like nothing for me to cover. Like I'm like, how am I going to make a show after this? There's just absolutely nothing to cover. It's all the same stuff, and I feel like it's by design. They're just like pushing all of the worst things on us, and it makes it really difficult to cover anything good.
Well, maybe you should do a life post Muffingate video and explain how things have gotten, since that incredible, thing that occurred.
There was something shocking that I saw. Somebody, I guess it was a Federal Reserve, like somebody who works at the Federal Reserve. He posted on Twitter something about how we needed to get our act together as a country, and people needed to the grown-ups basically need to come to the table and fix this stuff. And they called him racist, and they fired him for saying it because he was speaking out against BLM. Which just doesn't make any sense. You're
not allowed to because they're the most popular thing ever in the universe. So here we are on that. But at least we can assume that this isn't going to go on for forever. Yeah. They use it, and to the point too, naming it, BLM, naming it that name makes you racist for saying you just don't like the organization or whatever movement. That how evilly genius. Just to kind of just make that up, to name it something that if you say you don't like what we're doing, then you're racist by default by the words. When we live in a digital age where it's a lot of words, just being spread everywhere and all that. So it's just incredible to me that we're in this timeline now that it feels like caveman arguments about things in a world that we're supposed to be completely moving forward and having, you know, all this technology at our fingertips, all the research is there. This movement is doing their best. We're doing our best to have all this information available to everybody. Just take the moment and read it. And that to me is why I'm starting to just more chew on the idea that some people just like evil things and dark things.
Absolutely.
They just, and I know, but I'm just looking at it more and more happen that just even people not empowered, just, you know, your basic citizens, you know, some of them just really enjoy knowing, and they know that all this is wrong. They know they're lying. Some of them just really, you know, support it and approve of it. And saying some people, you know, just to like quote the Batman movie, some people just want to watch the world burn.
Absolutely.
So that's why when we try to red pill people, we put out the information, and we do what we do on social media. Remind yourself, you can't save everybody, and not everybody wants to be saved. And it's tragic. It's a terrible part of it. But we move on. Say, all right, you know, God bless you, whatever you need to say to them, and move on from it. Sometimes, like, that's why I don't really get in Twitter arguments, because you can obviously know right off the rip where they're going. And if you don't, all you have to do is go see what they've just replied to for the last hour. You can figure out where their head's at. And that argument gets to be pointless when you know that it's all about them just trying to cause problems. So I just don't personally do it. Anytime I make a comment in the middle of something that is like that, I get bombarded with replies that are pulling me back into the conversation. And I was like, and I blame myself for even getting involved. It's like, I don't want to be in this. I'm going to go back to doing something else.
Need to say thank you to Natural Lady 17. Appreciate that, Natural Lady 17. Thank you for the donation on the Cash App. So yeah, this weekend, guys, I just want to go over this so that actually, I'm sorry, I don't exactly know who's going to be on this weekend. I'm in the midst of scheduling it still. But yeah, it's Father's Day on Sunday. It's kind of up in the air as to who's going to be on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So there's nothing to plug.
Right. Well, I mean, we'll go ahead and just plug this real quick. I pulled the link up. Our buddy 412 and on will be having his show here in about an hour after we finish the show here. And so I'm going to drop that link in there. You guys already know the drill. I'll be listening over there at that time as well. Also, I will be on his show tomorrow. So I'll promote that on Twitter. We also have, as of now, is that interview that we're doing still on Thursday night?
Yeah, Thursday night at 9. Yep.
Okay, so we're not going to drop what that's about, right? We just want to be teases.
What, about on 412 show?
No. Thursday night we have an interview that we're doing. Remember that?
No. It's Tuesday the 23rd.
Okay, well, it got moved. Regardless, we have an interview that we're doing that we're excited about. We'll announce it later. Thanks, Red Pill, for helping me out with that. So just certain things that are happening in the works that are pretty cool. I've also got a timeline that I'm working towards as far as things happening on my channel. So be on the lookout for that. Don't expect a video to drop tomorrow or something like that. But I am going to. I can see a light at the end of the tunnel of having everything set up that I want to. There will be a live show once a week starting off on my channel that I'm really looking forward to, and I will announce my co-host on that channel here in the near future. I'm excited about that. I'm sure that he is listening at the moment. Man, it's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, that's why I could say things like I tweeted out last night about how we're just getting started. We get to find out about certain things getting worked on behind the scenes because a lot of people think like I do. I like to get to a certain point and then announce it. But yeah, there's a lot of exciting things happening. A lot of people creating content. A lot of people I never expected to start channels and do stuff or be guest on things. Or I see the discussions happening. We're going to have really cool conversations. Our buddy White Hat doing his channel, never thought he'd do that. I think I remember him telling us specifically he wasn't going to do that.
Yeah, definitely.
Like 6 months ago. And then now here we are, and he's doing a pre-show before your weekend stuff. So it's awesome.
Also, 412 is in the chat. What's up, buddy? Glad that you're here. Thanks for hanging out. Let's see. What else, guys? Man, I'm sorry, guys. I just feel like we should wrap the show. I got nothing else to talk about. Methods, do you have anything else?
No, I mean, well, I got no problem rambling a little bit here,
Okay,
but
go ahead.
I do agree with you on that. Like, there are going to be these moments that are lulls. I saw somebody in the chat that was talking about, that our favorite Anon hasn't posted in a few days. Is that over? And I don't know if that person is just newer and doesn't understand that. This has happened plenty of times. It always there's jokes, there's memes out there of the chaos at the party, and when our favorite Anon is gone, and then we're back to military attention as soon as he, she, whoever is back. I'm not Mark Cuban. I don't assume Q's gender. But it's like that. It happens. There's breaks in it. Things don't happen all the time. We get used to it because it's like we had a rolling thing to where people assumed I was posting right before our shows. Obviously I would have done that by now because people need it. I see interesting things get shared around on Twitter when we don't have anything to dig on like specifically, or new posts and all that. You could see that people are getting a little antsy and they find things to dig on that otherwise they probably would not. But, that's not a bad thing. Keep your skills going, keep them sharp. I have no problem with that myself. But yeah, do you have anything exciting planned for 4th of July in the midst of all this, Ripto?
I think that Real Red Pill Girlfriend and I, the extended family, we're going to be traveling. I don't exactly know where we're going to go. We're trying to go someplace in Florida. We were originally going to go to South Carolina for a baseball thing, but that's not happening now. So I think we're going to try to go someplace down in Florida. It all depends. We're like in the midst of planning it. But actually that weekend we would try to fly out, and then the weekend of that week, the 10th and the 11th and the 12th, there might not be any shows if I am in Florida. So I guess I should prep everybody for that right now. That makes sense. What are you guys doing?
We're still working out details on that. We live in a different state than most of the family that we would be with, so it's still kind of being worked out in specifics. I am seeing this amazing article that was dropped by our buddy Endorphin, and the headline is Ohio restaurant names Governor Tom Wolf their employee of the month, because people are leaving Pennsylvania to go over there and eat because they don't like the rules and stuff of Tom Wolf.
Oh, that's
so great. So Ohio named him the employee of the month for his rules and stuff that he's doing. Thank you, Endorphin, for dropping that. I'm going to put in the chat for you guys to have that. That's a good thing to end on. I know we got just a few minutes, but if you want to wrap this up, man, that's fine with me.
Yeah, you guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. I got to get the dogs fed, and then I have to figure out what I'm going to do for the show tonight. I just literally don't see anything worth covering. So if you guys have any cool stories that you've seen, anything uplifting, please feel free to send it to me, redpill78@protonmail.com. Beyond that, I do have shows scheduled all the way into August now. So, lots of quality people coming up, lots of really interesting things. So, go ahead and hit the music, and we'll get ready to sign out. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I appreciate you putting up with the mute button, and also I hope that you can appreciate me not using it in the future, because I'm just going to go ahead and just delete it from my Stream Deck here so that it doesn't happen again. All right, guys. Well, thank you for being here. Regardless, thank you to everybody who has supported the program. If you want to find out how you can do that, the links are always in the description below. If you haven't yet, you can sign up at Patreon and Subscribestar. Also, I have a channel now on Brighteon as well as BitChute. Those links are in the description below. Anything you can do to support the show is a big help, even if it's just liking and sharing, putting it out on Twitter, putting it out on your Facebook page, whatever it is. All right, guys, thank you for being here. Appreciate you. Love you all. Good luck, and God bless.